Okay, so now that you've created your life cast of your teeth, we're gonna create the teeth prosthetic. And we're gonna use the life cast to sculpt what would be the gums of the prosthetic, and then we'll individually sculpt the teeth to attach. I'm actually gonna start with the teeth first and then do the gums. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the tooth shade, which is gonna be a white colored powder. And you're supposed to mix 3 parts powder to 1 part liquid, and that's supposed to be by volume. So 3 parts powder by 1 part liquid, and this liquid is called a monomer. And what we're using here is a dental acrylic. So I have this little cup with volume measurements on it. I'm gonna just mix a little at a time because it sets very quickly, and I don't want to make too much. I want to make a few little teeth at a time. And I don't have a dropper, unfortunately, but I'm gonna put a couple drops in here. So I'm just using, it's like the smallest measurement on this cup. It's below 1/4 inch. It's like there's one little line, and that's the line that I'm using. So I'm gonna add a little and start stirring. I probably already made too much. And you want to do this outside because the monomer is pretty stinky. It is a strong smell. So you want to be in a ventilated area when you're working with this. So you can see now the texture here is pretty liquid. Okay, I'm gonna mix it together. Maybe I just need slightly more powder. So you want it to be a paste, but one that holds its shape. So you see now that I'm mixing a little more powder in there, it's starting to hold together. It's kind of like frosting. And what I want to do is have an idea of what shape tooth I want to do beforehand. I'm going to do zombie teeth, so I'm going to take a little bit at a time. And I'm basically going to sculpt a tooth shape, but make it a little distressed. So I'm going to do the 2 front teeth first. And you know, teeth kind of go at an angle. They're kind of at a triangle when you look at it at the side, and they're kind of rounded on the top. And it'll start to set. You want to kind of sculpt it in place, and then maybe move on to the next one once it's holding its shape that you want. And you can add a little extra monomer, which is that liquid. To kind of re-soften it for a short amount of time. And I want the back side of it to be more smooth because that is going to be the side that is attached to the gums. And like I said, I'm making zombie teeth, so they're not going to be the prettiest. Okay, so now that I have my zombie teeth sculpted, you know, they're a little, I wanted them to look kind of broken. They're a little bigger than my actual teeth, so they're probably gonna stand out more, which is okay for Monster. But the next step I'm gonna do is put the same material onto the teeth to create gums. and that's going to be a tooth shade, but it's going to be a pink color. It's pink veined, and that's going to be the gums. Now, when I add it to here, I need to have a separator so that it comes off of the life cast. So I have an Alcoat separating agent, which it's this pink liquid, and you're going to brush it on. You want to do several thin layers, so maybe 2 thin layers, and you're just going to brush it on evenly and let it dry. So the next step is to take the pink powder, and it says it has veining in it. What it is there's flocking in here, so it makes it look like there's veins in the material, so it looks more realistic. I'm going to do about the same amount as I did the first time. Just the lowest mark on this cup, which I don't know what it is, maybe what's less than, it's probably an eighth of an ounce, which is in here. Maybe just slightly more. Make sure I have enough to work with. So then I will put a little bit more of the monomer in here, and I'm gonna just do a few drops at a time and then mix and see if I have enough. See how it's not quite enough. And you have to do this next step kind of quickly. You don't have a ton of working time. I want to sculpt the gums and stick the teeth on in the same step. So I got to make sure that I do this quickly. And I think now, looking at the amount of powder that I have, I should add more because it's not quite enough to make the amount that I want to go for. So I added more, like 1/4 of an ounce, which means I need some more monomer. Okay, so now I definitely have enough to kind of sculpt around the teeth, around these teeth. And I'm gonna mix it till it starts to turn into a sculptable liquid. Right now it's a little too soft. You can see because as you pull it away, the liquid comes right back together, right? So it's not quite in the putty stage that would allow me to sculpt it with my hands. But it's getting there. In the meantime, I'm gonna close my bottle so I don't knock it over. Okay, so now it's getting closer to kind of the stage where I can sculpt it. You can see it's clumping more. It's holding its shape a little better. So I'm gonna scoop this out. And I want to sculpt it around the teeth, but I don't want to go too far beyond the gums. And I have some napkins nearby so I can kind of clean my hands as I work. And the goal is to get those teeth covered and smooth. And I don't have to cover all the way around, I'm just gonna do the front teeth. And I don't want to add too much material close to the gums. It should get kind of thinner as it gets closer to the gums. It should be thicker by the teeth. And I want to have more material on the outside because I'm going to attach the teeth right onto the gums here. And this type of thing always looks ugly before it gets better. I'm just going to add a little bit of this monomer. And that kind of helps reactivate it so I can smooth it out. And I'm just wiping any excess material off my fingers as I'm working. And now I'm gonna start to kind of stick the teeth on and try to embed them into the gums. And they may or may not stick. I'm gonna also take some super glue and just put a dot of super glue where I'm going to place the teeth. So this whole part right now is the tricky part. You have to work quickly. You got to glue. You got to make sure the gum material is still soft enough to attach the teeth to. I'm trying to embed the top portion of the gum with the tooth. And then I'll put more super glue across the back. Okay. And if you messed up or you need to do any more patching, then you can just make another batch, and you want to try to attach it either with the monomer, or if it doesn't work, then you can attach it with some super glue. But if you have a liquidy patch material, like so if you put more monomer to dental acrylic, you should be able, so if it's like a little more liquidy, you should be able to add it to. And here I'm trying to add a little bit of gum material here, just to kind of cover it. There you go. So kind of my nasty zombie teeth. Okay, so my teeth had a hard time coming off of the mold. I probably should have done an extra coat of the Alcoat separator. Didn't quite, it wasn't quite enough, and so they kind of stuck and chipped off a couple of my teeth. So, you know, something to think about. So make sure the edges of your teeth have a lot of the separator on it, and that'll help. Okay, so I have them off. I had to pry them off. And now you can see they're pretty solid. They're really hard. But there's a few spiky edges, right? So this is where you would probably come in and Dremel it or sand it down so it's smoother. It's okay that this piece is missing because we won't ever see it. It'll be inside the mouth. So what I'm gonna do now, there's also this edge here that's a little sharp. from where it pushed up against the, this part of the mold. So I would sand that down too. What I'm gonna do now is just paint it, just to give you a sense of maybe how to mix some colors and make these teeth look a little dingy. I'm mixing, here I have on my palette. And the paints I'm using are yellow, red, blue, and black. And with those colors, I'm gonna just, you know, mix a few dingy colors and see. I have also a paper towel that I can use to kind of wipe away. Right, so if I put some on, this is like, I'm using like a watered down acrylic paint. So that will help me to get any definition in some of these cracks I tried to purposefully put into the teeth when I was sculpting them. You know, I wasn't trying to do a perfect tooth for this look. So I'm just going to do this slowly, adding different colors as I go, building it up and wiping it off to get what I want. So basically what I'm doing is a wash on the teeth. And I'm mostly using kind of a black mixed with a little red and yellow. And then I'll probably do more of like a nicotine stain on it as I go, which would be more of a yellowing color. So I think that's pretty good in terms of gross zombie teeth. They look cracked, broken, dirty, dingy. And then what I'm gonna do is also, what I'm also gonna do is add a clear coat on here to give it just a little bit more of a glossiness that would be in the mouth. And of course, a little darker red I'm adding just as like perhaps remnants of like blood pretty good. Okay, so there you go.